Hey YouTubers, this story is kind of suspect because it happened to a 29-year-old Jamaican immigrant, and it happened in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a very rural part of Pennsylvania. And so let's get into the story. A Jamaican immigrant was shot to death at a rural Pennsylvania cabin last month in an accident. This happened sometime in December. His family is describing his death as a modern day lynching. So, this man's name was Peter Bernardo Spencer. He was 29 years old and he lived in Pittsburgh. He accepted an invitation from a former co-worker to hang out at a cabin in Rockland Township. All these areas are very rural. You don't see a lot of black folks there. So he went to this cabin in Rockland Township, Bernardo County. It's about 85 miles northeast of the city. So on December 11th, his family said the former co-worker, who is white, invited him out to this farmland. And they said all the occupants in the home were also white. So he was pretty much the only black there. Remember, Peter got an invitation from his co-worker to hang out in this cabin with, I guess, people that he knew. And they were all white. He was the only black person there. So in the cabin were two other white men and a woman in the home. So the only person Peter knew was his co-worker. He didn't know these other people. So Peter, who was from Jamaica, was very outdoorsy. He loved the outdoors. And that's pretty evident because he lived in a rural part of Pennsylvania. And anybody who knows about Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, knows that you have to be an outdoor person to live in that type of area. It's very rural. It's very like country. Not a lot goes on there. You don't see a lot of black people there. You don't even see a lot of people walking the streets because it's open country and you need a car to get around. So at around 2:30 in the morning, the Pennsylvania State Police got a call. And the call was for them to come to the home. And the home is situated on Carl's Road. And this was on December the 12th, 2:30 in the morning. They found Spencer dead on the front lawn with multiple gunshot wounds. So the person they suspected of shooting him was detained along with 3 other people. And they were questioned by the police. After the 4 people were questioned by the police, they were all released with no arrest. So the police said they found multiple firearms, ballistic evidence, and controlled substance at the home at the time. But after 6 weeks of investigations, no one had been charged with the crime. Those working with Spencer's family were asking other law enforcement agencies to get involved. But we're talking here rural Pennsylvania, where it's not a lot of black support out there at all. You don't have a lot of people in the community who would even rally to the cause of a black man. So really the family needs to bring in someone like Crump or one of the other black civil rights lawyers to do this investigation. So the fact that he was shot multiple times on the lawn at 2:30 in the morning, you're talking about wee hours of the morning when it's dark, pitch black in Pennsylvania, right? At that hour of the morning, on the front lawn, being gunned down, tells me he was either running from someone or something. He was running from the barrel of a shotgun, but he could not outrun the bullets. So let's read further in this story. So out there in Pennsylvania, the Venango County DA's office did not return multiple requests for comments. Investigators were still waiting on the results of toxicology report, and in a news release, state police urged the public to remain patient. I mean, how much more patient can you get when the evidence is there? A lot of us come from the Caribbean and the West Indies, where we are longing for rural life that reminds us of where we were born in the West Indies and the Caribbean. We want to get away from the concrete jungle and we go to these rural areas in America. But guess what? A lot of these rural areas in America are controlled by the Ku Klux Klan. So, black folks, you got to be very careful where you move in America. It's not just picking up and moving any and everywhere. It is a matter of life and death sometimes if you move to some of these rural communities. According to William Anderson, chair of the Allegheny County Democratic Black Caucus, the Spencer's family, the former co-worker admitted to being the shooter and was claiming self-defense. So I'm trying to gather this picture. This former co-worker invites him out to this cabin with other white people there. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, pitch black out there in Pennsylvania, he shoots him on the lawn multiple times and is claiming self-defense. So how can you claim self-defense and you're the one with a shotgun and the other person is not armed? So he could not be reached for any comments. Recently, he has disabled his social media accounts. So all his social media accounts is not working anymore. You cannot reach him. So the Venango County coroner found that Spencer had been shot 9 times. I mean, to shoot someone 9 times with a shotgun, you've got to really take aim, deliberate shooting, kind of reloading up. When you shoot and then you buck the gun again to shoot again. So it's kind of reloading. So it's really deliberate. It sounds as if there was some intent, maybe premeditated, because if you're going to invite someone out there and then shoots them, that's premeditated. That means you thought about it, what you're going to do to that person before they got there. So like I said before, it sounds as if he was running away because the pathologist, whose name is Cyril Wrench, I'm going to spell it Cyrilwecht. The pathologist said when advising the family and the study, and when the pathologist studied the autopsy, the pathologist said to the family many of the bullets entered Spencer's body from behind. So he probably was shot in the front first, and then maybe he turned away to run, and then the rest of the bullets entered from behind. So this happened on December the 12th. More than a month ago, no arrests have been made so far. The State Police Heritage Affairs team, which aims to prevent and respond to hate or bias-related crimes, was notified of Spencer's death. Aaron Allen of the team's Western's office said he had been in touch with the Spencer's family and his role is to mitigate tensions within the community. Allen also said Spencer's death is currently not being investigated as a hate crime. But when someone dies and the circumstances is not natural, and you have someone who admits to shooting the person in self-defense, and the person is unarmed, most of the bullets enter the back of the person. That is not self-defense when the person is not posing a danger to you. And so I would think that there would be justice in this case. And there's only going to be justice if the family reaches out to one of the bigger attorneys to shed light on this case. Because rural Pennsylvania, people are not going to be up in arms because it's a white community out there. And for them to really shed light on this case, they've got to take it to one of the bigger attorneys. Because I think black people in America have learned over the years that you cannot just talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. You know, it's one thing to speak on something, but you got to take action. So the family needs to take further action at this point because nothing is being done. So at the time of Spencer's death, he died and left a pregnant fiance. So he was supposed to be a father and a husband because he had a fiance, and that was all taken from him. He was only 29 years old at the time, in the prime of his life, ready to start his life with his own family. So someone has to pay the price for that. In America, there's supposed to be justice, and if you take an innocent life, you've got to pay the price. So Conrad Spencer, the father of Peter, the person who died, referred all comments to Anderson and Jubas, but the family had spoken to the Jamaican media about the case. Spencer, who was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica, moved to the United States when he was about 16 years old. He lived with his family in Pennsylvania. His parents said he worked in construction, and his dream was to operate a restaurant. The father said, "My son was not perfect, but he did not like anyone around him who did not work." I mean, none of us are perfect. The father further stated that his son worked hard and was always encouraging others, motivating them to do better. Anderson said he reached out to the Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro and the United States Department of Justice, urging them to look at the case. Spokesperson for Shapiro's office said the AG would need an official request from the Venango County to get involved. So the family further stated, "We are trying to put faith in our law enforcement officers and that our lobbying will move mountains," Anderson said. He further stated that Spencer had no ties to Venango County aside from his love of being in the woods. Venango, with a population of 49,600 people, is one of Pennsylvania's most rural communities and counties, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. And just 1.1% of the population is black. So you're talking about a needle in a haystack when it comes to black folks living in that county. So like I said before, the family really needs to reach out to like a Benjamin Crump, a Jesse Jackson, who can be an advocate, Al Sharpton, to get this case on the way because it's at a stalemate. No one is investigating it. The Attorney General's office said they need an invitation pretty much to further the investigation. They need that invitation from the county. And it just seems to me like another mass cover-up here. Because remember, with Armand Aubrey's case, it was a cover-up and it wasn't being investigated. And Jackie Johnson at the time, she was in the DA's office. She specifically gave out orders for Travis and his father not to be arrested. So it just seems like another cover up in this case. And for a young black man with so much potential, hardworking, a young family, a fiance, a child on the way, to be gunned down at 2:30 in the morning on December the 12th, which was about 2 weeks before Christmas, on somebody's front lawn, shot 9 times, most of the bullets in his back, and no one is accounted for that. He was not armed at the time, and no one was arrested. It's been over a month. So, YouTubers, I'm going to keep my ears to the ground as to what's going to go on in this case, and I'm going to bring it to you guys because he was one of us. He was a Jamaican born, and there's got to be some accountability here. His fiancée stated when she dropped him off, he had not planned on staying the night. She was supposed to pick him up at around 2:30 p.m. later that day, but then he told her that he was going to stay the night. He had decided to stay the night. I guess the co-worker convinced him to stay the night. And his mother said she called just to make a wellness check, how he's doing, and the fiance also. When they called him, he did not pick up his phone. And with repeated calls from the mother and the fiance, because remember, it was a strange place he was in. He was with a whole house full of white folks, and not to say they're all bad, but just they were concerned enough to call and see how he's doing. When he didn't pick up the phone, that was room for concern. You guys, I'm over and out. That is the story of the day. I could not believe it when I read it. Like, share, subscribe to my channel and to this video. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button before leaving the page. Thank you.